Hello everyone and welcome to the Virtual Classroom Coach, a place for us all to learn and share best practice around everything related to online classrooms. Now in this video it's episode 3 of Bingoview. Yes, the show where interview meets bingo. So every now and again I interview a fellow L&D professional and pose some interesting questions about virtual classrooms as well as the wider world of L&D. Now we've already had Debbie Beswick-Lawrence and Heather McClinton, and they scored a cracking 10 points each, putting them joint first on the leaderboard. How it works is each guest that takes part has an L&D bingo board that they have never seen at all, and under each square lies L&D words and phrases, and the challenge is for them to say as many of these as possible so we can reveal the squares. And as with usual bingo, there's prizes to be won. So let's see who's been waiting in contestants row. Here they are, here they come. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Mr. Ben Hardman. Welcome. Ben, it's great to have you here. First of all, can I say thank you so much for giving up a Sunday afternoon to come on to Bingoview. Welcome.
You're welcome. No, thanks for asking us. It's a pleasure. We're going to have some fun.
Yeah, well, listen, you've got Heather's high score and Debbie's high score in front of you. All right, they scored 10 each. They drew. Who'd have thought? So you've got to try and at least get 10 or more in today's game. No pressure.
No pressure to start with. No, it's fine.
So just to explain then, the way it works is this is bingo meets L&D interview, okay? And the deal is the more words or phrases you say that are on this bingo board means we can actually reveal that phrase or word. And just like in normal bingo, you get prizes for certain combinations. Let's take a look. Any one line gets you this gorgeous notebook for all your doodles and thoughts. Reveal the 4 corners and you get this fabulous piece of VCC pottery. Reveal 6 or more squares and you automatically get this tea. And then you too can nonchalantly lean against railings. If railings aren't your thing, how about a wall in this fabulous hoodie? It's a big ask though, you need a full house for this one.
Nice, yeah, I'm excited about that. Let's
bring
it home.
Yeah, let's see what we can win for you. All right, okay. So we're going to go for it, Ben. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. Nice, easy question to start with then. All right, so who are you? See, I know you. We've worked together very briefly and your name comes up quite a lot in my circle of L&D friends and colleagues, I'll let you know. So for everyone else, I'd love to know who you are and a little bit about you.
Great. So, well, I am Ben Hardman, yes. We have worked together in the past. Nice to know that my name is mentioned in good settings, I hope. Yeah, so I live up in the northeast, up in Newcastle. And I've been an L&D practitioner for the best part of 20 years, to be honest, in different ways, shapes or forms. As we progress, you know, I didn't want to be a trainer. It wasn't really on the career path. I kind of fell into it, and then I loved it. You know, I've worked on my qualifications, got my honours degrees. I'm an insights practitioner as well, and now I'm freelance. So yeah, taking on the world of consultancy and helping businesses become even better with the people that they've got.
Okay, so you're now a consultant.
Yeah, I do business consultancy, coaching, you know, online facilitation, training. Yeah, so everything under that kind of consultancy banner, I would say that. And I'm working as an associate as well for some great companies. I'm married to Joanne, and I've got a 11-year-old son called Leo as well. So hopefully they won't get photobombed. They won't. If they do, then you'll say hello.
That'd be very welcome.
That's
so
fine.
You're a busy man then, Ben.
I am indeed, yes. Like to keep busy. You know, if it's not working on the business, then it's trying to keep active and going to the gym now that they're back open. Thank you. And I'm also a musician as well, so I play bass guitar. So you know, keep my hands active as I can.
Do you play in any bands or?
Not anymore, no. So
but you have.
Yes, I was in a band for the best part of 10 years.
Oh, wow.
Thought I was going to be a rock star. That was, you know, that was that was the resume. That was going to be the job title until training was far better career. But yeah, the band got on to Radio 1 at one point actually, and very close to getting a publishing deal. Unfortunately, that didn't work. But yeah, back on the path of L&D really, and that's the career for me.
Well, you've touched on it a bit. My next question was, what brought you to this world then? What attracted you to it?
Like I say, it was just pure chance. Having spoken to different colleagues and friends who work in L&D, there's some similarities in the way you kind of find this career. I was working in Orange. That's where my career first started, working in Orange. And
Orange?
Phones, yeah, Orange, the mobile phone company.
Okay.
Back in the day. So, and I was working on the phones. I love working on the phones. I love customer service. I love kind of face-to-face interaction and working on the phones. And I applied for a job role, and that job role was team coach at the time. And I applied for it, not really understanding 100% what it was. It was a new opportunity. But they happened to do induction training as part of the role, and that was it. It was just introducing us, like a door opened and
yeah,
bugs flying everywhere and all that kind of stuff. And that's where my first kind of appetite got for L&D, and it just slowly progressed. Started doing operational kind of training, process training, and then from there it really progressed. I went into different job roles: L&D consultant, L&D exec, training manager, and then I did my CIPDs. I did my honours degree, and really found the niche that I'm looking for. And then from there, jumped into Specsavers and joined the Green Blood Club and had a great career there. Fantastic place to work for. And then, yeah, after that one, went freelance. I always knew I was going to go freelance. I just didn't know when.
Okay, yeah.
Talk about timings, and things like that. And my advice to anybody is actually don't wait, because there's never a perfect opportunity. It's you got to sometimes just take a risk, and that's what I did. And 3 years later, it's still going strong. So yeah.
That's brilliant to hear. It's funny, isn't it? Yeah, lots of people consider it, don't they? Lots of people who work in L&D consider going freelance, but yeah, I suppose that worry always holds them back. So your advice is go for it.
Yeah, that's it. Everybody's circumstances are different. The risk is the biggest part and the biggest fear about being freelance. You've got to make sure that your work's coming in. So the biggest thing that I kind of try to concentrate on is your pipeline, your networking, and use the contacts that you've got and do a really good job as well, because that's important. You've got to have your reputation to work for you, and that's it. The same as everything. Not necessarily going freelance, but if you're thinking about starting a business or thinking about doing something else, having children, for example, getting married, again, there's never a perfect time. So you just got to go in and give it a go sometimes, as long as it's right for you.
Yeah, I've always said sometimes the thinking of doing something is worse than the doing of it.
Absolutely, yeah, it is, and that's it. It's what's the worst that can happen,
Yeah.
Because the fear of not doing it is, as you say, always worse than the actual doing it itself. We'll probably talk a little bit about mindset throughout this session, Dave, but it is about getting that mindset right, and
absolutely, life's too short, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, it is, and in the strange times that we're living at the moment as well, things like that it does make
more so.
Absolutely, yeah, that's it. So advice is, if you want to think about doing something, as long as it's right for you, go for it.
Get on and do it. Absolutely, yeah. Love your story about how you got into training through that coaching role. And it's funny, isn't it? A lot of us sort of fall into this sort of role or industry accidentally. We realise just how brilliant it is, and we sort of move along that career path, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it does seem to have a kind of a natural progression sometimes. And I've been very lucky to work for some great companies. I've been very lucky to have a great team around me and work with some great people and had some good opportunities that have all really, enabled me to get where I am today.
That's brilliant. Yeah, brilliant story. Yeah, do you know what I say to my fellow trainers? We have the best job in the world, but don't tell everybody.
Yeah.
It's an amazing role, isn't it? Yeah.
It is. Yeah, but it's funny, as well, that when you talk about what do you do, and you just stand in the room and talk to people. It's kind of a bit more than that, but yeah, that's what you think it is, and it's that perception really of what a trainer is all about.
That iceberg effect, isn't it? They just see that top of the iceberg. They don't know what's going on underneath the water.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So what areas of expertise do you have, or specialisms?
Yeah, so it's a great question, that one, Rich, actually. And, that's one of the biggest things that, again, from a freelance perspective, is understand what your kind of unique selling point is,
Yeah.
that you specialize in. So, as I said, I'm an insights discovery practitioner. I use insights discovery for a number of different things, but really what I like to do is concentrate on what I say behavioral optimization. So,
Okay.
when people say, "What are you?" I don't necessarily say I'm a trainer. I say I'm a behavioral optimization specialist. That's my
Mm.
nice little little tagline I've given myself, and then people say, "What does that mean?" And then you can talk about them, because for me, it's all about the behavior. I like to help people become better in what they do. Become better in what they do. Hopefully, they'll have a happier work life, which then improves the work life of the people around them and improves their personal life. So it's all about enabling people to be the best they can be, really, through communication or behavior. So whether that be frontline agents, team managers, operational managers, creating a culture of excellence, really, from bottom to top.
Yeah, and do you know what? I think you really hit on something there for me, because in our role, we do actually enrich people's lives, because like you say, it helps them in work, but that also helps them in their personal life as well, helps them with their own development. So,
Yeah,
what we do does change people's lives, doesn't it?
absolutely. Yeah, you can, and that's that's when you really get to the true beauty of what the role is.
Yeah.
And it's not always about support. You've got to challenge people effectively as well and get that balance right. But that's the thing, you can really unlock some doors for people and get them onto not even a different path, but just enjoying what they're doing more. Connecting with the true purpose of what they're trying to achieve,
Mhm.
and ergo, hopefully, impact everything else around them.
Brilliant, Ben, thank you. So another question for you. As you work with various organisations, being a consultant, do you see any trends in gaps of knowledge or expertise right now?
Well, it's an interesting time for L&D at the moment, as it is. The companies I tend to work with, actually, you've got really good people, really great organisations and good setup. So it's not necessarily about knowledge gaps or skills gaps per se, but what I tend to see is, again, I was talking about that culture of excellence, and what can happen in organisations is chase the numbers too much. And really concentrate on those KPIs and those operational metrics, which are important. But what I tend to find is actually what's more important is concentrate on the behaviors that get those numbers. So don't chase just that 5%, 10%. Actually look at what good looks like. That's going to allow you to get that 5% and concentrate on that part of it. So those skills, those soft skills, behavioral skills, attitudes, mindsets. And actually, if you concentrate on getting that right, the numbers will take care of themselves and usually even do better. So that's the bit that we tend to focus on, again, and that culture of how you really engage people in the true purpose of what the job is about, and driving that performance between the support and challenge. So that's where I tend to see it.
Interesting, because like I always talk about customer service, and if you talk about, we need good sales, otherwise we will close, and that's what most businesses think, obviously for obvious reasons. They're there for commercial reasons. But I also say that, do you know what? Yes, sales are important, but really let's focus on great customer service, because then sales look after itself. It's
Yeah,
sort of what you're saying on an internal scale, isn't it? If you look after the people and look after their behaviour, support them, develop them, then actually that will automatically affect KPIs. Is that what you're saying, or am I?
yeah, absolutely, yeah. And that's it. So the customers will always come back to the companies that they're dealing with, that experience almost, and the ones that really care for them and treat them well. And that's the thing. It's not just about me chasing that 5% uplift, or me reducing my call handling time by 10 seconds or whatever the case. They're still important, but it's about understanding what happens in that moment in time between you and that one person that you're dealing with. Yes, whether that be face to face or over the phone. What are the behaviours that allow you to give the best of you, that personality? Bring your personality out. That's why you're being recruited in the first place. You've got good attitude, good skills. Bring them to the forefront, and then really use them to accelerate the end result. So if you give somebody great experience, research says you get a good output from it as well.
Thank you, Ben. So I would imagine you're a model man. Okay, so do you have an all-time favourite model that really gets you through your L&D life? Maybe there's more than one, I don't know.
Yeah. There's quite a few. The one I get a lot from myself and thinking about the journey is the steps to learning. So unconscious incompetence to unconscious competence model. And again, I talk about that quite a lot in terms of the skills that we go through, and the journeys that we have in life, and every new opportunity is an opportunity to learn. Every challenge is an opportunity to learn, and people have to go through that progress. You know, they have to go. Some people will stay consciously competent, and that's fine. But it's about all understanding. Actually, let's just constantly review where we are, because what's good now might not be good in 6 months' time. You know, so I use that model really to accelerate the steps that people have to go on to excel. And even the people that have been doing the job role for 15, 20 years, you know it inside out, they know the ends of every question, every policy, every process. Actually, they could be unconsciously competent to just sailing, you know. So actually, that how do we recheck them to say, are you still as effective as what you could be? You know, so let's really concentrate on what you can do. So that's the model I really like to use.
Oh, question for you. So can you be unconsciously competent in a false way then? Because actually you've stopped learning because you think you know everything that you need to know, but actually you're missing out.
Yeah, you can do, and you know, that maybe it comes to that conscious incompetence. So you don't know what you don't know, but actually, yeah, that's what can happen. Is people can do a certain job role. Actually, yeah, we do stop learning. We stop kind of reflecting. We think we've got it. We've mastered.
Yeah,
We know the ins and outs of everything, and actually complacency happens. You know, so even within that aspect, it's great to get consciously competent because that means you're getting there, you're mastering it. But actually, staying there for a long period of time is not good. So we've got to just take back to that consciously competent. What is it? Be more aware, act on your feedback. What's the next stage for you? How can you become even better at what you do?
fascinating. I had a lady come to a workshop the other day, and it was a subject that she knew really well because she'd been enrolled for 15 years, whereas the other guys had been enrolled for like a month or 6 weeks. So she was very different to the normal learner. And I said, you know, at the beginning when you say, what's your objectives? When I came to her, she said, you know what, I've been doing this job for 15 years, and I'm really conscious that I might have got some bad habits. Maybe I've missed out on some new ways of doing stuff. So I've just come here to make sure I'm still in the right place. And I really admired her for that attitude. And you know, for me, that's a perfect learner, isn't it?
Of course it is. Yeah, you know, you look like some of the real echelon athletes, or you know, people that are in business. They're never complacent. You know, they might be a master, they might have been doing it for the 10,000 hours or 10 years or whatever the case may be, but they're constantly looking at, well, what can I do differently? How can I do it better? You know, was that the best of me? What else is there? You know, and just being present in the moment, because that's really what we're trying to do, really, is where we get
Exactly.
outputs.
Oh, Ben, okay. So going on to virtual classrooms then. Okay. So thinking of virtual classrooms, do you see them as a worthy competitor to the traditional classroom setup? This is a question I ask all of my guests because it's an area of interest for me.
Yeah. Yeah, so as I'm doing more, and I guess a lot of us are in L&D at the moment doing more online virtual classrooms, what I tend to find actually, what you can't just do is take a traditional classroom-based course and then think you can transfer it to online. You can't. You know, the audience is different for a start. Everybody's behind a screen. You know, you haven't got the actual everybody being in the same room. So there's slight differences in there. And for me, virtual can work in those kind of short, snappy, 1 or 2 topics where you can really kind of discuss it. If you use your technology right as well, you know, you can make it really interactive with break rooms or your whiteboards or whatever the case may be. You can still use videos, you know, so you can do that. But there are some opportunities where face-to-face really does work, you know, in terms of if you're talking about really behavioral kind of soft skills where you need that on the moment observation potentially, you know, and when you're in the room you can just feel it sometimes, and that for me, that's the bit that I don't necessarily see translating to online. So I think the two of them work absolutely hand in hand together, but I think you've got to think about, you know, what is the right purpose, and hopefully once we get back into a situation where we can be in the room with real people, you know, you'll see how we can use that as more of a blended approach, I guess, is what I think a lot of companies are going to go for, because yeah, human interaction, you just kind of get that through. Even though we're having a really good conversation, you know, the feeling would be different if we're in the room together.
Yeah, yeah. So for example, if I was stood up in front of a group of delegates now, I'd be able to see them all. I'd be able to feel the atmosphere, see the body language, and of course online that's harder, isn't it, to replicate, I guess.
That's it, yeah, that's it. And then, you know, not everybody wants the webcam on as well because they might not feel comfortable with it. So already you've got maybe, you know, a delegate who isn't naturally as engaged, or as a facilitator. You know, you've got a blank screen and you've got some faces here. So even that just dynamic in itself, you know, and keeping everybody engaged. And you know, it's like I say, short, snappy, so 2 hours, 3 hours.
Yeah. Is that what you'd say? Is that, you think, is a great length of time for a VC, no more than 2 or 3 hours?
Yeah, between 2 or 3. You know, again, within that, you've got a good opportunity to talk about two great topics within that, 2 or maybe even 3. It doesn't have to be 3 hours. You know, you can do something great in 60 minutes, 90 minutes.
Absolutely, yeah. I've done some 30-minute bite-sized virtual classes as well. They go down really well.
They do, and that's the thing. It's just thinking about it's a different way. It's a good way, and you got to think about the end purpose, though.
Yeah.
You know, because people can get overkill as well, and too much online. Again, for an engagement point of view, doesn't work. It's my 5th one today. Oh, here's another one. But like conference calls or whatever the case may be. So yeah, is it worthy adversary? I don't think it is at the moment for being, you know, in the same room, but it as good for certain topics, definitely.
Yeah, I get you. What I said in a previous video is it's very mind active because there's lots of stuff to do, like, you know, the online interactivity, but it's very body passive as well, just sat there, you know, so that can be a bit of a drain for audiences as well.
That's right. Yeah, naturally, if you're in a room, you can, like, say, you can start pick up on, you can change the state immediately. You can do that again on a virtual run. You know, so what I'm thinking about now is a bit more about how you can keep people immersed. As a facilitator, I feel I've got to put a lot more energy into a virtual session because, as you say, you haven't got the energy to feed off as you would do in the room. You know, your facilitation's got to be slightly different because, you know, if you ask open question, you might get 2 or 3 people who instantly kind of try to answer it, and I'm like, oh, no, you go. You know, so you got to think about how you do that slightly differently as well. But you still have some really great interactive activities virtually and really engage the audience. But again, it's a different skill. It's a different way of approaching it than what you would be in you know, a face-to-face environment ultimately.
So when we have that choice once more, I think organisations will really have to take a look and say, well, do you know what? Yes, virtuals are working here, here and here, but actually there's a space for that bricks and mortar classroom as well.
Yeah, there is. And, you know, and I think it'll become more of a special occasion as well when people are in the room, and it'll add more impact. Because again, you could say the same argument for a traditional classroom. You had people rocking up a classroom training again. Oh man, here we go again. You know, being told to come, and again, that engagement piece already is struggling. So yeah, I think there's a lot of organisations are finding the benefit of online learning. It brings a lot of good benefits in terms of you know, costs, you know, which is good for the environment, etc. Staff engagement, because it's easier just to log in. You know, so there's a lot of good aspects to virtual training, but I think it's an additional not instead of.
Yeah, not 100% replacement. Yeah.
Not in my opinion, not yet. Yeah, unless we get augmented, you know, 3D graphics and holograms.
It could happen. It could happen. All right, and so do you actually have any tips and tricks for making virtual classrooms a bit more special then? You talked about that need for us to make them as engaging as possible and put as much energy into them as we can. So what would your tips and tricks be to somebody to achieve that?
Yeah, so, you know, really think about how you structure your sessions. What you can do earlier on really is great. So I tend to do, you know, a bit of a contact session where it gets people engaged really straight away. So using the functions as quick as you can, you know, some kind of interactive icebreaker. I also like to use different bits and pieces as well. Can I share my screen, Rich?
Yeah, please do. Yeah.
So I have a separate camera set up with the whiteboard. So we talk about whiteboards, which you can do in Zoom. But actually, from my perspective, I've got a physical whiteboard. You know, so I can use this. And this is what I like to do. So, you know, if you're talking about, I was talking about the unconscious incompetence model before, etc. You know, so this is a great tool that you can use. It's slightly different. So in terms of changing the state, because it's not my face now, it's a whiteboard, it's live because it's animated. It gives you a different dynamic. You know, you can do all kinds of what you would do on a flip chart really, but in a different virtual world. So I quite like using that.
So that was brilliant. So presumably you've got a second camera set up somewhere.
I have indeed, yeah. So I've got you know, a simple USB webcam on a tripod, which is pointed at the whiteboard. It's very easy to switch between the two. You just do it through your in Zoom, through your stop video. There's a little up arrow, and you select which camera you want to use. Again, if you've got an iPad Pro, for example, you can connect it to an iPad Pro and literally, you know, draw on the screen, and it would come straight up for you. So again, just a different way of different dynamics. So you can use great tools just once you understand how to use them properly, you know. And I'd say, so you don't. The whiteboard's great in Zoom, you know, and I will use that whiteboard, but sometimes I just flick it on and
Yeah.
use it for a different dynamic.
Love it. Now, we talked about that many weeks ago, didn't we? Because you and me was having a sort of chat with each other about sharing Zoom functionality and Zoom ideas with each other. And you actually introduced that to me a few weeks ago. And do you know what? I'm so glad you've talked about it today, because it blew me away so much that I now do it myself.
Oh, great.
Yeah,
Good.
and it's something I'd never done. In fact, I've made a video about it, about multicam setups as well. So that's full credit to you. You know what we do in this business? We proudly pinch, and I proudly pinch that one from you.
Yeah, borrow with pride is the phrase I like to say.
Absolutely. But what a great thing to do. Do you know what? We've got all this technology. Like I say, we've got a whiteboard, but why not use an actual real whiteboard? You know, why not? You know,
Yeah, exactly.
it just changes the energy and the vision for the audience.
Yeah, you know, if I had a bigger setup, for example, you know, there's nothing stopping me actually having a flip chart where I could literally flick to the next camera and I could just present from the flip chart essentially.
Yeah.
So again, you can use your space in there, but simple little tools like that, it doesn't cost a lot. You know, the entire setup there is probably about £30 for a whiteboard and a you know, cheap little tripod and a USB camera. So it's not that, you know, you have to spend a lot of money using this, but again, it's just a different dynamic, and that's the thing to think about with virtual learning. You know, there are some great tools there. How can we put them back into this session to make it even more engaging, you know? So yeah, borrow that with pride, Rich. I'm pleased you found it useful. How have you found it then? How have the people been responding to it?
It's great, and I just think from the audience's perspective, they just feel a bit more invested in, because they can see you're putting time and care into it. You're thinking about about them as an audience, their interactivity, their concentration. I just think it shows you care, and I just love the fact it's almost like a throwback to the old classroom. You know, getting a whiteboard, pen out, and writing on a board. And I just think it's hilarious that you can bring old school into the new technology as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and you have a right laugh about some of my drawings and some of my writing as well. You know, it just allows you to have a bit of fun with it as well at the same time. So yeah,
Exactly.
different things.
Oh, I'm glad you brought that one up. That's great. All right. So, what skills do you think are necessary for an online facilitator?
Well, again, a great question. I would say do some research as well. Learn about your tools that you're using. You know, that's the thing. Whether it's Zoom, whether it's WebEx, whether it's Adobe Connect, some fantastic tools out there with some really, really great functionality. So one of the things I've done is again upskilling myself on the tools I'm using.
Yeah.
Learn from other people, and just think about how you want to structure your session, because nobody wants to stand there and just listen to somebody talk to them for 60 minutes, 90 minutes, 3 hours. That's not what you want. It has to be still an immersive experience. So again, you know, thinking about your time skills, so short, sharp time skills, thinking about, you know, 20-minute chunks and then some kind of activity or really good discussion points and then some kind of break the state. So again, you're just keeping people's minds active and into it. You know, don't be afraid to facilitate still. You got people on, I often just bounce a question and I'll pick somebody specifically to bounce that question to. So you can do that virtual facilitation. It's just slightly different because you're not face to face. So yeah, get your name list. Nothing wrong with challenging people and bouncing some questions. And then I might even say, you know, right, your turn now, pick somebody else and then pass the question on to them. You know, so it's really about understanding the experience. What is the experience for the learner going to be like? And then we kind of work backwards from that one. I've got some great books, you know, from the likes of Clive Shepherd and Barry Sampson that I've done a more than blended qualification with. Some great resources online that can help you. YouTube's been a help, you know. I've been watching some of your videos, Rich, and some other videos out there that you can use just for different ideas, and give it a go. So I've done some practicing. So even though I've structured some sessions, I would still practice them with some colleagues,
okay,
friends, you know, and get some feedback on what because you think it might work, and then when you come to do it, it might have some glitches or that you haven't quite thought about that bit. So I do some practice as well beforehand as a bit of a pilot for some activities to see how they land, get some feedback, and then go forward from there. So yeah, it's really about honing your skills from virtual learning.
Yeah, I love that what you said as well about practicing, and we always think, oh, do you know what, it's a waste of time practicing, it's a waste of time testing on people. Actually, it's so not. It's the best thing you can do, isn't it? So that, because what you're doing essentially, when you're with an audience in this sort of setup, you're actually broadcasting. It's a one-off opportunity, and you've got to get it right. So all that preparation is so important.
Oh yeah, 100%. And as I said, you know, it comes back to the thought of actually been thinking about the session and doing different things with it. You know, even just as simple as changing your camera, some of the feedback I've had, like, wow, that's really different. You know, it's so simple, but it's really effective. You know, and so some of the clients I've been working with, you know, the delegates are like, wow, this is amazing. You know, such a good experience, and that's what you want. You know, you come away with it and say that was really worthwhile. I really like that. And actually, some people, oh, I actually prefer this way of doing it. You know, so again, it just depends on the subject. But online learning is going to continually grow. It already has. You know, we've had to accelerate our skills in a short period of time. And I think it's going to become probably a different kind of skill that you have from a classroom perspective. And the more that we are going to use it, because it's definitely around to stay now, and I think that's the right thing in the right context for the right program. And just, yeah, really kind of, as you would say, it's a different kind of skill. So really sharpen that score with virtual learning, virtual design, virtual delivery, practice your tools, learn your art, and get some feedback with it. And don't be afraid to make some mistakes.
Yeah,
you know,
we're human.
Absolutely, of course we are. And you learn more from the mistakes than, you know, what you do getting it right. So yeah, just have some fun with it, and don't be scared.
The key word you said there, experience. So yeah, think of the end user's experience and work backward from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And you can still incorporate all your learning styles into a virtual session as well. What I tend to find is actually that the quicker you can do some of these activities, the better. You know, so you can have a really good conversation about a theory, and then we'll do some activities on the back of it, and then we'll see how it applies to real life and talk about different challenges. So you can still incorporate all of that within the virtual world.
What are your thoughts on learner agreements in organisations, thinking particularly of netiquette in the online classroom?
I don't really think you have to be that specific to say we need a learner agreement here for a virtual world. Again, it's just a learning experience. It's a professional experience. So again, like I said, I like to do things quite quickly at the beginning of a session, so you can use that as contracting if you wanted to. You can work with the clients, so understand, you know, what are the logistics internally, what are the learners like, you know, always bring that into the forefront. But for me, we haven't had to do any structured real contracting per se. And netiquette, a lot of people are using online forums and you know, Zoom, for example. A lot of people are already using these kind of tools, so they understand how it works, and there's no reason why your etiquette would be different in this setting to what it would be in a classroom anyway, or in a face-to-face kind of meeting room. So as long as you have to do a little bit of a context session at the beginning about how it's going to work, and, you know, what the learner's expectations are, and vice versa, that seems to be enough from what I've seen so far.
What about your favourite online tool then? So you say interaction is important. Have you got a favourite tool you like to bring into your sessions? We know you like to go a bit old school with your whiteboard. What would you like to use in terms of technology?
So again, the interactive whiteboard that you've got in Zoom is great as well. So I often use that for a couple of different things in terms of we'll have a set topic, and I'll just put it on the whiteboard, you know, and
because everyone could share that, can't they, and contribute?
Yeah, of course they can. So if they're doing it in a breakout room, they can save their own little whiteboard, come back in and share that screen to the rest of the group. If I'm talking about a specific subject, for example, what's coming into me, I'll just bring up the whiteboard and capture it all, and then I'll save that as a document and share it later at the end of the session for people to refer back to. So yeah, that whiteboard facility again is probably underutilized, but it's a great tool if you use it properly.
I think you're right. It is underutilised. I think it's that there's a little bit of anxiety about what do I do with it at the end? How do I save it? Where will it land? How can I bring it back into the session as well? But it's actually really easy, isn't it?
It is, yeah, exactly. But if you do it at the beginning of the session, that's what I like to do. You know, we'll talk about these features.
Yeah.
We've got a whiteboard, and this is how it works. Let's give it a go. We've got a chat facility. This is how it works. Give it a go. We'll use annotations. This is what it is. Have a bit of a play around with this on a graphic or whatever the case may be. So really, just removing that fear straight away.
Absolutely. So yeah, having a bit of fun with them at the beginning, and then they can use them more productively throughout the rest of the session.
Yeah, that's it. It's a key word there, Rich, is the most productive. What can you get from the time you've been given, and be as most productive as you can. Yeah, that's it. It's a really good way. You can get a lot of fun from it as well, and that's what people enjoy. And some banter I get on some of these sessions is amazing. I love it.
So what's your thoughts on any organisations that would like to bring the virtual classroom to their portfolio of learning? Any advice you'd give them?
Yeah, again, think strategically. Think what is the best format for you to bring this in as part of. It's easy to do your team huddles, team buzz sessions, which is great. Because that's one of the challenges that a lot of companies can be facing at the moment. We've got a lot of remote workers, so how to keep them engaged still, as engaged what they would be if they're in an office, for example. So your buzz sessions can be really done, or team meetings still be done virtually. But if you think about an L&D offering, where does it fit in terms of a blended package? Where could it really add value to learners in terms of, like I say, those quick hit sessions followed by some pre or post working as a series of events, bring them back together, and it really helps build on your complexity, build on your skills. Think about your infrastructure. Does your infrastructure still support enough internally of what you want to do? Can you have a list of resources for people to use as well on the back of the VCs, for example? Some companies I work with have really stringent IT policies in the way of some of the software. So again, thinking about that complexity internally and how you can work around that, and allowing people to have access to the software. If I'm working remotely, I want to be able to use it. I want to be able to use it well, and it should be easy to use. So thinking about that one, and again, if you haven't yet worked with a VC, it's a different set of skills. We've already talked about that. So think about the development of your team. Think about how you can bring in some expertise, or think about how you can bring some shared learning in to really enable your L&D function and your L&D facilitators to master this.
Sort of run with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and like I say, be creative with it. Get some practice in there. And really harness the power of what virtual learning can bring.
Yeah, brilliant advice. Thank you, Ben. All right, so we're almost at the end. I've got one final question for you. This will be the easiest question you'll have. All right, so nice, easy question for you. How can we contact you, Ben? Because you've said that you're actually freelance, you're a consultant. So how can we contact you? For example, could we put your details in the details below? Would that be all right for you?
Yeah, 100%. Of course, you can do that. Yes, go to LinkedIn. You'll find me on LinkedIn. If I'm on Twitter, Horizon Training Associates is the name of the company. And absolutely, yeah, share my details. I'll be happy to do that, Rich. No problem.
Brilliant. That's great. Thank you very much. It's been an absolute joy having you. You have been our first gentleman caller on Bingoview, so thank you very much. Shall we have a look at the results, see how you've done?
Yes, please.
Right, let's bring up the bingo board. Here we are then, Ben. Here is your bingo board. Remember, the idea was to say as many words or phrases that are underneath these squares as possible. Okay, so let's see how you did. So the first one you got was coaching. Of course, that's your specialism. And what else on that line did you get? Remote as well. So 2 on your first line. On the second line, you got virtual workshops. And you got what we consider is the underdog, whiteboard. Yeah. On your third line, you got accelerated. And you also got specialist. And finally on that line, you also got Zoom. Almost a full line there, Ben.
That means I want to get 4 on the last one, Rich. That's what that means.
Fingers crossed. Well, I just want to point out, you've already got 2 corners. So if you could get the other 2 corners, let's see. Okay. So did you get your first corner? Yes, you did. Well done. And next you got behavioral.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get third one? Yes. Your specialism, insights. Did you get the fourth one? Oh, no. Oh, but Ben, how well did you do? How many have you scored? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You've scored 10. You've scored the same as Debbie and Heather. This is hilarious.
Fair enough. You can hold me head up. That's all right. That's good. Happy with that.
That is fantastic. Well, look, you didn't quite get a line. You didn't quite get the 4 corners, But remember, the deal is 6 or more, you do actually win. So you've won a prize. It is the VCC t-shirt. Congratulations.
Yeah, can't wait.
Do you know what? I don't know how I'm going to be able to get 3 names in the first spot on that leaderboard now. This is getting hilarious, but I will find a way.
Bro, perfect. Yeah. I'm on the joint first, though I can accept that. That's great.
Well done. Well done. Just think the pressure now for the 4th person. It's going to be intense. Ben, can I just say thank you so much for coming on this afternoon. I know how busy you are in your work life, and I know how busy you are in your family life as well. So it's been really great of you to give up your time to come on. And, you know, I know our subscribers will really appreciate listening to you and getting an insight from, you know, from your expertise and your experiences. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure. Thanks for asking us. I think what you're doing with these videos and the ideas as well, Rich, is really good. So yeah, good luck with it. Doing well.
Oh, great. Thanks, Ben. Enjoy the rest of your free time and congratulations. You are number 1.
Woohoo!
Hey. Bye. This is brilliant. 3 number 1s. I remember saying in the last episode, is that number 1 slot big enough for 3? Guess it's going to have to be. So who's next? Is that number 1 slot big enough for 4? Or will the next player finally steal that spot? Could it be someone you know? Could it be you? Stay tuned and all will be revealed.